Hey guys, Pharaoh Knight here, bringing you episode 26 of our Colony Survivor playthrough. In the last episode, we completed all of the unique sciences, leaving only the generic ones left to complete. And we also discussed what would be going on and what I am planning to do now that we pretty much have everything unlocked to us. And I was discussing some builds in our main colony here. Which, on a side note, it's great to be back here, and there's a lot that we can do here as well. So, I'm thinking the first step will be to get the next banner raise, and this is because we are so close to getting to the top of our mountain, and it also opens up a lot more room to do some more unique builds. Now, way back when we did a radius upgrade here, and we only expanded our defenses on the right side here, which I believe is the north side of our base, and we left the south side as is. So before this episode started, I did expand out the defenses, and I've yet to take down the other interior walls, but we will get to that at some point. So to start off, I think the first thing we need to do is expand the sleeping area for our colonists. So what I've done is I've punched a hole through the ceiling of where I want and put in a construction job, as well as hire 2 guys to go through and mine that all out for us. That way we can gussy that up, make it look nice, and get a few more beds in the event of us moving forward. And the reason that I'm doing that too is a long time ago we built this in, and we've yet to really do anything. So it's time that we move these guys out and change this structure a little bit here. With that said, I think the next build is going to be either a defensive build or maybe the bridge. I've yet to decide. But either way, let's get started. Alright, so while they're eagerly digging that area out for us, we're going to address some of the other concerns that we'll have here moving forward. And one of them is our water supply. So, we are going to add in a few more water gatherers down here, as well as a few crates. I'm going to throw a bunch in my hot bar. There we are, and put that there. So, while they're digging, my main goal now is to run around and upgrade the areas that we're lacking in. The nice thing about boosting the production, which I talked about in the last episode, is that you can see which areas take a long time to get caught up. And one of those areas is our anvils as well. So that's pretty important considering that that supplies 2 out of our 3 main ammunition sources. So we're just going to come in here and grab another 2 anvils. Right there. And get them thrown in here. Now, actually, I'm going to take this up, and the finery forge is not really necessary because 1 seems to be more than enough to keep that going. So, if we're going to increase everything, we're going to need to increase our mining capabilities. So, I want to throw in another copper miner and a few more iron miners as well, just to make sure that we don't have any problems. I'll also look at throwing in a few more saltpeter and a few more of our lead as well. So I will be right back once I've done that. Alright, so I've been thinking, and I have also got a comment about increasing this colony to 1,000 colonists. We're going to see if we can do that. Of course, it is going to take a long time. So, our goal is 1,000 colonists. But first, we're going to aim for 500 colonists. Now, to do that, we are going to need incredible amounts of food and the ability to produce that food once we've harvested it. We're also going to need the infrastructure to produce the ammunition for our guards, which then brings up the last goal to get the defenses even stronger. So, I am up here, and I just realized that I hadn't expanded the border all the way out, so I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to spend an insane amount of time doing some terraforming here and cleaning this area up to get more food going. Now, something else that I need to do is I need to get more olive production or grinders going because that is directly linked to our food. We're also going to need to get more wood production because that is tied to our copper arrows and our firewood so that we can even make that food. So those are the items that we're going to be focusing on. This could take a while. So the first step that we're going to do here first, before we start increasing our numbers any further, is to expand our defenses. We have the room to do it, and it would be insane not to, considering that once we start reaching higher numbers, the amount of zombies coming through will go through the roof. Not only that, we want to be able to have the room to quickly place down our guards when we need them and not have to worry about finding a spot for them. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to expand this out and see if we can't get a little bit more room for our guys to utilize. Alright, so we have got an idea going forward for our defenses. So I've carried out the black stone bricks out and around right to the base of what we can do currently. And I have not built anything in here. Now, there is a reason for that. And my main reason is that everything in here will be used for our defenses. This line here, I plan to carry that out. I might pop it out a little bit and then run this line. And by that, I mean, instead of just keeping the diagonal, which cuts further and further into this mountain, I might come out a few blocks and then start cutting along as well. And on this side, I've cut around and gone straight, as I was saying earlier. And the reason for that is I'm thinking of putting in a tiered section here. So on the lowest tier, we're going to have our bronze archers. They're going to take care of all those grays for us. Though, to be honest, there's not many grays anymore. We're seeing more and more greens and reds than anything else. So, that may or may not be just them. On our second tier, we're going to have our crossbowmen. They're going to be clearing out all the greens and helping with the reds as needed. And on that third tier, on the highest tier up, we're going to have our musketmen. I think that's going to be the plan moving forward. And then on this side, we're going to supplement them with maybe some more muskets and more crossbows. But if we can get this in place, this will severely improve our defenses. Now, in the center here, of course, we're going to maybe carry out or fix up our back and forth pattern once we have our guards here clearing it so that I can actually get in and do something. But I'm thinking in here of maybe doing some jut outs, so having the wall expand out to the green and then putting even more guards on there. I think this really opens up a lot of possibilities for what our defenses could be. We're going to have to see how it plays out because to supply those guards, we're going to have the infrastructure and food to do it. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. I don't know if a single colony can provide the food and ammo as well as the guardsmen to defend it at the higher levels. I think that might be the point of a lot of these colonies, besides just bringing in special foods and luxury, is that they will need it to supply food and resources to the main colony in whatever shape to allow it to survive in these high level zombies. But we're going to have to figure that out. First of all, we're going to deal with this, and we're going to get this going. So like anything, we're going to set up our diggers. They're going to dig out the area for our lower tier, and then we'll come in and put them in. So we got two guys going, and they should dig that out relatively quickly. So with that in mind, we are going to start looking at getting some more food coming in, and I may have to run out to our colonies and see if we can't set something up. Now I should say too that our original diggers in here have finished, and I haven't quite figured out actually if I'm going to use this as another bedroom. Though I probably should. And I'll have to address that as well, because another concern I'm having is that our current craft house here, or workshop, is not large enough. We're going to have to expand that as well. So, we're going to have to decide whether or not this gets turned into a bedroom or a craftsman room. I think this will be a bedroom, and we will expand in another way for our craftsmen. Alright, so we're back on the other side of our colony. And this is where we're going to start putting in more food. It makes sense because this is where the majority of our food is, so we're just going to continue that trend. Now, building on a mountain is a bit deceiving because you can see that the line is in a diagonal. So that means that we actually have a lot more tiles available to us. It's just that the elevation is restricting us. So that means if we dig in, we should be having access to a lot more of our usable area. So that's exactly what we got to figure out first. We've got to figure out how far in we can actually go before we actually hit our red wall. So with that in mind, I'm going to dig a shaft over here in and see how far in we can actually go. Now I just got to be careful that I don't actually make a breach over here somewhere, which shouldn't be a problem. And look at that, we have a lot of room to work with. There is a lot inside our mountain that we can carve out and use for our food. Now, this challenge is going to be difficult. There is no other way to put it. A lot of people say that it's too expensive, that it can't realistically be done. And I think that if we can achieve that within a mountain colony where things are a lot difficult or a lot more difficult to build and plan, that it is not that the game is too expensive to produce it. It's just that the right amount of planning has not been put into it. What we forget about this game is that it's called Colony Survival. There is a survival element to this game, and planning and letting things build up is a huge part of that. And a lot of us just don't have the patience to let things work themselves out. We just run in and slap down as many as we can and hope for the best. And I don't think that's the way to really go about this. This game is easy. Once you're secure, you can just let it run when you go and make dinner or go out with your friends. It will just let itself build. Now, you have to make sure your defenses are good. Make sure everything's not dipping before you do that. And that could take a little bit just to watch and make sure that, oh, you know, your char or gunpowder levels are staying stable. You can't rush headlong. So what we're going to do too is to make this challenge even more difficult for me. On top of the mountain, we're going to try to keep the aesthetic going. So we are going to try to make things look good. Now, whether or not this is a handicap or not, I'll leave that decision up to you and your own playstyles, but I think that's what we're going to go for. So, with that said, we've got to do something up here that will produce a lot of food, but look good doing it. Okay, so we have set in a very large construction job. Now, this is going to be interesting because it's going to be cutting underneath of our defenses. I think it will be fine. And the reason I say that is because even if it cuts underneath of our defenses, they still shouldn't be able to get in. Now, I've said that before and been wrong. So I'll have to double check, but it should be fine. Where is the... Knowing my track history, I just decided to just make sure that this is all taken care of before I leave it alone. Alright, so that takes care of defense and food. So they are both set up. You may have noticed that there's room for 4 constructors over there. I think that those guys over the defense will be done at some point, and then they'll just come over and help clear that up. So that should speed up. I don't want to increase the amount of colonists too much just yet, because we're really not ready for that. So, with that in mind, the last thing that we need to take a look at is our production. So in here. Now, I have ran into a problem with firewood, and I did fix it. I raised the planks to 6,000, and because of that, these guys were not really focusing on firewood, which is a bit of a problem. Not only that, I raised the amount of charcoal and food and everything, so wood was a big problem. And it still is. It looks like a lot at 10,000, but it's going down very quickly. And the only reason that it's staying stable is because there is a supply coming in from the far east, I believe, that's supplying logs. So that's something else we're going to have to look at, is increasing our lumber production. Now, production itself has been raised. Everything should be increasing the amount. So all we can really do is just give it time to do it. And I think that is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to let this run for a bit, let the construction or the digger jobs run, and just see what we can come up with. And just as I finished saying that, the construction job or the digger job over here completed itself. So we now have the ability to start with the first tier of our build. Now we are just going to match what we've all been doing. It makes sense. I really like the layout of the defenses and how they look. So now we're just going to basically make that over here. Just looking at our current defenses, and I'm noticing a trend. There are almost no gray zombies in the batch. They're all green and red pretty much. So that makes me wonder if I even need to do a line of archers or if I should just go straight to crossbowmen and then have another layer, being the third layer, where I can mix them or even use another row of musketmen. I think that's probably the best because there doesn't seem to be much point in getting ready for archers. Right, so I have run around and I have queued up a bunch of new construction jobs. There is one here because we need to be able to house our guards a lot closer to the front lines. This is just about as far as we can get. When these guys leave, the new day crew is just getting there and vice versa. So for over here, we want to make sure that our guards are right present so that we don't have any lag in coverage. So we're going to build a barracks in here. I've also queued up the construction for the next tier. So that's tiered up, and I have got one for a new workshop and one for the farms, which is quite large. So while those are slowly ticking away because it does take quite a bit of time, I am thinking I'm going to run out to each one of our colonies and quickly touch it up, make sure that it's got no major problems, that it's really producing what we need, switch around maybe some jobs, and just get it geared and ready for what's to come. Because once we start going for massive amounts of colonists here, I won't want to leave here until I know it's stable, which may or may not be uh, something that's even possible, really. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to run out and touch those up, and we'll see you in each one of the colonies. Right, so we are at the far east to start, and it looks like cabbage is our limiting factor out here, so we're going to have to take a bit and fix that. Everything else seems to be doing fine. We are not maybe as high on rice as we could, so we'll throw maybe some more rice down. Something that I am doing now, and I forgot to mention back at Unknown, is I'm limiting fish and lobsters, as well as the luxury items before they were infinities. And the reason for that is that fish really doesn't add much value other than just a different source of food. It's only 400 calories. And it's the same with lobster. It's only 600 calories. And olive oil, firewood, and honey could be better used making some of our higher end foods. So we are going to limit those and focus more on the better foods for our colonists. So I'm going to throw down some rice fields, get some more cabbage going. Might be a good idea to get some more chicken meat going now that we're focusing more on these three items. So let's get started on that. Alright, so I've added in a bunch of new farms, mostly wheat, cabbage, barley over there, and I added in one more wood farm just as a precaution. I've also gone and increased firewood and logs just to get a little bit more of a surplus going. This should change pretty quick because I've also come back to the stove and actually set limits for everything. And the reason for that is that once they hit this limit, things will stockpile a little bit more. And really, I have 132 million calories. I'm not too worried about food at this colony anymore. And that way they can stockpile, and it's a lot more efficient for me to send things from here to Unknown if I need it. So that's just what I'm going to do with the colonies. Set all of them to have set amounts. That way we start stockpiling and things can easily be sent over without much of a problem. So that's what we've done here. Now I'm just going to make sure that there is no long-term effects, nothing's dropping, and then I'll see you at probably the tropical colony. Alright, so I think the Far East is stable. It's ready to support our main colony, providing whatever assistance it may need. So we're going to move on now to the next one. Right, so I know I said I was going to go to the Tropics colony, but we were just at the Tropics colony, and most of the stuff there has been set up and is stable. So I wanted to go down to the New World, which I knew was having a bit of an issue. So I couldn't figure out what it was, and it is the potatoes. Looks like cabbage is running low, maybe a little chicken meat. So we'll spend a little bit of time here, make sure this is all going well, and then move on. Right, and that's the new colony, or the New World colony, pretty much set up. It looks like defenses are not having too much trouble at all. That is good to see. So I added in a couple more potatoes, another olive, some more wood, barley, switched around some miners. I had way too many guys on copper. I had 5, I think. And once you're set up and established, and you've got your iron production being used to defense, you don't need any more than really 4 copper and 2 tin to maintain. So I moved around some of that, and other than that, I might have set up 1 anvil, another grinder, and that's about it. But things seem to be quite stable out here, and overall, really happy with this one. So I think that's where we're going to end out here in the New World. We're going to head back to the old colony and get going. Alright, and we're finally back at our main colony, ready to take on the 1000 colonist challenge. Yes, that is the end game goal of us getting set up here. I know today's episode wasn't the most exciting, just me running around getting things set up. It is going to be important to know, or to have things ready for when we do get into it. And while we're playing around with building up the barracks and everything else, getting even more prepped, we are going to start moving up the colonist numbers in the next episode, now that our colonies are set up and ready to rock and roll. So, on that note, we are going to end today's episode. I hope you guys did enjoy, even though, again, it wasn't probably the most exciting, but we need a solid foundation. I've been Pharaoh Knight. If you did like the video, please do leave a like, subscribe, and comment. I always appreciate the feedback. I do read everything, even though I don't answer a lot of things anymore. I did run into a problem where I seem to be the perfect target for people that want to spam me. None of you guys are doing that. It's just auto or bots that are doing it. So just kind of ignoring comments right now. But I do read the ones that aren't spamming. So please do keep it up. And I've been Pharaoh Knight. Have a good one, guys.